Thank you everyone for joining me on this Friday's episode of TGIF. We wanted to talk about like Covenant in general. So, usually it's quite a chill, it's quite a chill vibe, and we have other teams join us. I think for the next few sessions, we need to look internally and it needs to be just about Covenant, because Bittensor and all its subnets are at a very critical juncture. And, it's time to take stock of where we are and how we intend to go forward. So let's recap. Covenant started with Templar, and back then it was a root network. So my get rich quick scheme was to get to 2% emissions and just milk it for as long as possible and hopefully retire. I was terrified when I found out that Cons was forcing detail child, and I was scared because I had no clue how we were going to survive, but I think we did all right. Now enter the new reality of emissions, which is Taoflow. Let us set two assumptions. Emissions are a means to an end, they're not the goal. Focusing on, while they're important, over-indexing on emissions takes us to that terrible place we hate to be, which is local minimal land. So now we have 3 subnets, and Taoflow demands that we must attract more with left, which is okay. If you look at Bittensor and incentive mechanisms are reinforcement. Incentive mechanism and Bittensor in itself is a massive, it's probably the world's biggest reinforcement learning run. These are policies, and you put your miners and your ecosystem through it. What happened is that the first policy, let's call it, or the first environment, which was a root network, didn't work. The OTF released a new environment, which was DTAL. Now, DTAL has found its edges. And when we first heard about this change to Taoflow, we're like, wow, this will kill us. Now, this is natural. It's natural because, we're human, and if you figured out a new thing, you're resistant to change. But then you realize that this changes, everything that's happening is for the greater good. This changes did not happen because any of Covenant's subnets were cheated. That's the wrong way to look at it. Is that for the ecosystem, for the sum of our parts to be even greater than they ever would be, we all need to take the sacrifice. So what are we doing? I said, no, okay. Pushes the Pareto efficiency, the Pareto frontier. It makes it more, like, let's say it's 80, 90. The top subnets do well, and it reduces the emissions. So while we will continue, because I think we still need emissions, we over-index for, or the part of the game, I think we made some miscalculations. Now, I'll admit it, I'm an engineer. I've been brought up with proof of work. The reality of it is that running a project with tokens are akin to running public companies, and with the bullshit that crypto comes with. So how do we survive? Is that okay? We've done let's take a research through Covenant. We have done things that teams 10 times bigger than us haven't done it. In fact, it's so crazy now that no one else is doing permissionless runs. They're all copying out. So we've done that, but we cannot over-index on that. Because when I started, it's good news and bad news. When we started, I thought we'll be training this size model this time next year. We're already here, and we need to evolve. So what does evolution looks like? Evolution looks like, 1, sustainability, fiscal discipline. We already released our notes on Basilica on how, we're not paying miners just to turn up. And you can see the general ecosystem is following suit in that we must be more efficient, but we must not be efficient at the risk of doing nothing. Because doing nothing is inertia, and it's just a slow rock. So we must still deliver on our promises. What are we doing? Let's start with Templar. With Templar, we have proven that, okay, we are Godzilla. But, okay, what's next after that? There's 2 work streams that come out of this. The model is the product. But we're not there yet with the model. We've proven a very, very big, a massive bit is that, look, we can train a Godzilla model over the internet. Why is this important? The cost of training these models was crazy before this. Not even just from GPU cost, the cost of co-locating these machines. We have proven that we can train over the internet on par with centralized training. Then there's such a massive market that we can create out of this. It's a massive bet. I know my limitations. So it's a market we're going to have to develop, and we're already working on it. There are already positive signs from academia that, wow, you guys can run this training We can collaborate. We can pay you. Governments pay. We're looking to get into one of the Stargate programs. It's about being able to coordinate. So at Stargate is OpenAI is a mass GPU program, but they're often one site. So part of the work we're doing now is that, okay, we need to take our Mona Lisa, this work of art, this crazy thing we've done, we need to take it out of the lab to the world. So that's part of the team doing the world tour. We're going to DAI London, where the only subnet in DAI London that has a oral presentation. And academics think that's a big thing. So when we're going there, we're going to meet with partners, 5 people we can work with. Covenant Labs is the only Bittensor subnet at NeurIPS this year. Okay, it's not the main conference, but we're the only ones there. So we are fighting a very important fight there in that having Bittensor seen in rooms that matters. And from then on, we need to take our work and continue to find partners. It's a role I'm hiring for because I'm a backend. I'm not a business development guy. So it's stuff we're looking to, but we're looking to build products around, okay, our pre-training. Do you want to train? We can train for you. We can train for you cheaper. You don't have to spend millions on the data center. Just give it to our miners and we will crush it. That's pretty interesting. For me, it's a personal thing. I think it's an amazing thing. I personally think it's the greatest thing Bittensor can possibly do. Because right now, the apex of intelligence is a model, and Bittensor is collective intelligence. My mission hasn't changed, and my team's missions hasn't changed, to put a frontier model built on Bittensor. We're close, but we're not there yet. It doesn't mean we can't start to experiment with different streams of revenue, which is why we're going to be rolling up training as a service on Templar once we finish this run. Now, going to Basilica is interesting because we made mistakes with the original design. We over-indexed on Liam. But then we realized that even Liam, it's not it's okay, but it's a local minima. Yeah. So Basilica is transforming. The crazy thing is that Evan told me to do it 4 months ago. No, do it this way. But we're paying a heavy price for it. I'm Kofa. But Basilica is coming back stronger. And we're going to be what we intended to be. Cloud native compute, any job, anywhere. We're already working with top subnets to integrate directly to Basilica. Now, one of the things that I underestimated with the initial iteration of Basilica is how important internal value flow is in developing a product, because they're far more forgiving than everyone else. So we're learning now, and our first targets are going to be internally within Bittensor to really build out the job platform. Evan is the strongest infrastructure generalist I know, and I am beyond confident that Evan will deliver on that. So more on Basilica later. We released a piece today. It's the first of 4 pieces where we really go into forget hype, forget emotion, forget organization. Where's the meat? Where does this go? I'm pretty excited about seeing that. Grail is interesting because we found a rock star to pick it up and someone just got it. While I had to spend like 3 months with Templar to understand what we're doing, Irfan was able to hit the ground running. What does Grail do? Grail takes the base models. So look at it this way. I used an analogy today. Pre-training is like going to university, and post-training is like grad school. So pre-training, you know a lot about everything. Post-training, it really refines that intelligence. So everyone is leading that post-training effort. And what does this look like? First of all, the products we can build training APIs. We can build versions of Tinker that outperforms. Now that we have both the pre-training and post-training, we can build abstractions very easily that lets researchers and engineers easily train their own model. Now, the problem is that, okay, Gradient is nice. Gradient is AutoML. But you see, where the real market I think we can claim is people that want to do more with their models. Like you want to change the learning rates, you want to experiment. It's like semi-auto. So right now, if you want to train your model, you either do fully manual, which is what the beautiful people at Grail and Templar are doing, or you do AutoML, which is what Gradients is doing. But there's another space there that we find really interesting. I don't want to run all my infrastructure, but I also want full control of my model. Now, this is a space that I believe Covenant Labs is well placed to dominate. And yeah, so now that we have all these ambitions, we need to transition from purely research. On my team right now, I have about 8 researchers and 2 engineers. It doesn't mean we're firing any of the researchers, but we need to transition into a research and product org. Because I think research is super important to be able to do the exponential. There's no other subnet. So it's more like, let's take this Web2 business, put it on UMA consensus, and push the miner. That's good. But we believe we can exponentiate that factor. We can say, let's put it on UMA, but let's also give it, create research. Using this petri dishes, this subnets, can we create artifacts that exceed Web2? And we're not talking about, like, you see, when people talk about cost is a very funny thing. And I'm all right, but like, if token holders are subsidizing your commodity, it's not cheaper than Web2. So a lot of people do that, and I understand it's part of it. But we're looking at things like, when the guys on Templar are really close to technology that allows us to, let's say you have like A100s. Can we get the same efficiency from a group of A100s as we would from a group of H100s? So those are the kind of stuff that once we conquer that, what does that give us? It gives us cheaper inference. We can get like more efficiency out of this machine. So these are the kind of stuff we're looking at. And we are going to be hiring everyone on my team. It's super important. We're going to be expanding the team to bring on more engineering focus. But more importantly, we'll start to grow the business side of the team, which is lacking. We'll do this carefully because, again, detail is a very funny place right now. It's the pits of despair. We've got very limited capital that is just circling limited subnets. And it's okay. We don't want people people should hang in there. But do not be despaired because, you see, startups are about forward expectation. Yeah. A lot of us early subnets were in a very funny place. Like, a lot of us subnets that got ahead a lot earlier. It's in a very funny place because people bought Shoots and Templar and did all the subnets when sum of subs was 2.5. Everyone kept saying, don't ape. So there's a lot of people that are far underwater, but it doesn't remove from the fact that new capital needs to come in. Everyone is chasing a forward narrative. Oh, there's a partnership here. Oh, these people are better than whatever, which is okay, but they will run out of steam. So we can either play that game, we can understand that, look, we're on life support. If we cannot hit critical milestones, if we cannot continue to deliver, if we cannot continue to deliver, we will die. Now, that is my natural state, and it's a state I enjoy. But I don't have enough hubris to always believe I'm right. Because, again, I've never run a subnet of detail before. I've run companies, but detail is a totally different thing. So, therefore, I am open to growing the business side of it because we're all engineers and researchers. Cool. That's it. So that's it for me. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. Covenant Labs is one of the few teams that's 100% committed to Bittensor. I make everyone get a Bittensor tattoo when they join. So, we're not here for life. We're here to build things that last us, that last our children. And so be it. Let's keep building. Have a lovely day, people.